Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, we finally made it. It's game week, a fascinating matchup. North Dakota State heading on the road to play Colorado. Coach Prime, I think this is a fascinating matchup for a couple of different reasons, but I think you got to start with we've talked extensively about how Colorado has just overhauled both sides of the line of scrimmage. I've been very vocal that I think the personnel that they brought in this year was a heck of a lot different from what they brought in 2023, specifically along the lines of scrimmage. I think they're more talented. I think they're deeper. We're going to get a sense of Colorado's line of scrimmage play week one against North Dakota State, where look, it ain't no secret how North Dakota State wants this football game to go. They want to run the football. They ran the football 65% of the time last year, averaged over 6 yards per carry. What does Colorado look like along the lines of scrimmage? That's a massive question mark, but I look at this game as a whole and say, Dill, I just don't know if North Dakota State just has the playmaking ability and the athleticism to deal with Colorado on the perimeter. Like, I look at this Colorado offense, I think it's one of the most underrated wide receiver rooms that you see in the country. You look at North Dakota State and say, hey, they play really disciplined football. I don't know if they have the athletes to deal with guys like Travis Hunter or Will Shepard or LaJohntay Wester, who I think leads this program in receiving yards in the 2024 year. I'm really excited for this game. We're going to find out a lot about this Colorado program. Excited to get into some of the key matchups. Now, before we do, and as always, let it fly in the comment section. A lot of Colorado fans going to listen to this, but a lot of college football fans are going to listen to this. We would love to hear how you guys are feeling about this matchup in the comment section. That is by far the best part about doing these game predictions. We appreciate y'all rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Dill, without further ado, let's get into this one. Let's start with the Colorado defense going up against the North Dakota State offense that, hey, they're going to run 13 personnel. They're going to run 22 personnel, 2 tight ends, fullback. They're going to kind of throw the kitchen sink at you in terms of how they're going to run the football. I think the biggest storyline here is how does Colorado's front seven kind of look and kind of match up against a North Dakota State line of scrimmage on offense that is extremely physical?
And the first thing I think I'm going to be looking for is what is this defensive line going to do against, and they didn't see this much last year, is that just like they're going to be getting double teamed, they're going to be getting run at physically all game. Like, again, I don't necessarily think we're going to see big stat lines from these guys in the defensive line, but when they get doubled, are they going to be able to keep their linebackers free? Because I know the linebacker room took a bit of a beating from the Colorado fans, from the national media, and that room certainly needs to be better. But I'm kind of looking like, is this team, because they're going to be playing more in the Big 12 now, a lot of teams are kind of going to have this sort of style. Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Some of these teams that Colorado is going to need to beat to get to their ultimate goals, they're going to need to prove, I think, with this defensive line that they're very comfortable playing this physical brand of football, taking on double teams and keeping their line.
Yeah, doing the dirty work. And we kind of said this throughout the offseason for Colorado. Why do we think the linebackers get better heading into 2024? Yes, you add some names like Nikhai Hill-Green that we both as Michigan fans like a lot. I think more importantly, the defensive line gets better. The best friend for a linebacker has having defensive line that wins at the point of attack. Last year, that didn't happen for Colorado on defense. This year, I think there's two different things that, people are missing. One, the quality of defensive linemen that they brought in through the transfer portal, it's significantly better than it was last year, right? You look at Dayon Hayes, one of the best pass rushers that we saw in the ACC coming from Pitt. His teammate Samuel Okunlola, very good as well. You look at Chidozie on the inside. You throw in guys like Quincy Wiggins. I think the caliber of athlete, the caliber is significantly better along the line of scrimmage for Colorado. But I think even more importantly, the depth is there. I mean, why did Colorado kind of fall apart towards the end of 2023? The injuries, getting into some of that depth. The depth wasn't good enough last year. I think one of the reasons why I've been so vocal that I'm very high on this Colorado team heading into 2024 is not only the talent is better along the line of scrimmage, I think it's a deeper unit. And I think the second conversation you can have with this game, Dill, is, all right, North Dakota State's going to run some 13 personnel, some 22 personnel. They're going to run the football. Walk your safeties in the box. Just show 7-8-man boxes, because I look at this North Dakota State wide receiver room and say you lose your 2 leading wide receivers. This is not a prolific passing attack to begin with. What North Dakota State wide receivers winning their one-on-ones against Travis Hunter or DJ McKinney or Preston Hodge on the outside? I just don't think that answer is very likely for North Dakota State. So at the very least, Colorado just loading the box, begging North Dakota State to try to go to some of those matchups, I think can mean good things for Colorado.
And certainly I think that'll be the game plan. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think you're right. Like, there's just not many one-on-one matchups you're particularly scared of if you're Colorado, because that secondary room, it was pretty good last year, frankly. I think it's probably better this year. But at the end of the day, nothing really changes the fact that, or nothing replaces, I guess, the fact that they just need to prove they're physically more capable than what they were.
100%. I think another thing I'm looking at is this Colorado defensive line getting off blocks. And one thing that North Dakota State does at such a high level, double team, working up to the second level, they stay on their blocks. You look at the linebacker room last year, I mean, getting stuck at the second level, not getting off blocks, that's what kind of caused some of those run defense problems for Colorado. Can we get off blocks? Can we play just the right brand of football? We being consistent with our run fits. I think that's another storyline that we're certainly looking at as well. Now, you flip to the offensive side of the football. I think the biggest storyline is this Colorado offensive line where, hey, North Dakota State, quality defensive line. I think my biggest question mark, and kind of a similar conversation we've had with Colorado on the defensive line, is the quality of player that Colorado brought in on the offensive line is significantly better, right? I think the eyeballs that we're going to have, you look at a guy like Justin Mayers or a guy like Tyler Johnson, who was very good for Houston last year in the Power 5, in the Big Ten last year. I think the quality of offensive line is better, but I think more importantly, they do have some depth on the offensive line. But I think the biggest storyline for Colorado fans, how does this new faced offensive line come together as a unit? Look, we're confident that the personnel is better, but we talk about this all the time with other programs that build the offensive line through the transfer portal. Can you get that continuity and chemistry along the offensive line? That's something that we're looking for here.
And that's like kind of the key for, I think, Phil Oldhold is it is, I think, hard to do that at times. And you see like teams like LSU who now are, I mean, these guys who are going to be on their offensive line have played together for 3 years, and you see that gradual, steady improvement up to the point where now LSU's looking like they probably have the best offensive line in the country. Colorado doesn't have that luxury because when Coach Prime came in, there just wasn't anyone to do it, really. So they had to turn it over. They need to bring in a lot of new faces. And that will be the key for Coach Oldhold is what can he do with that unit? Can he get them going where they're picking up blitzes together, they're working together in run games, when they're getting up to the second level on their double teams and combo blocks? Are they doing it properly? Are they both like, are they just playing sound gap?
That's a 100% the biggest storyline. Because again, I think from a personnel standpoint, I feel pretty dang good about the Colorado offensive line. I think from a personnel talent standpoint, they're better. Now, can this unit come together, right? Blitz pickups. How are we doing that? I think another storyline is running the football. I think a lot of Colorado's problems in pass protection last year were kind of led from Colorado didn't have a run game. And so a lot of teams were just pinning the ears back and getting after the quarterback. And look, I'm not saying Colorado should be a run-heavy team when you have one of the best quarterbacks and what I think is one of the better wide receiver rooms that we see in the country. But to keep defenses honest, I think establishing a run game is going to be important. And there's some running backs that are flashing in fall camp. I was a really big fan of Dallin Hayden coming over from the transfer portal. Phenomenal true freshman year at Ohio State. Just had to transfer out of that room because you had Judkins and Travion Henderson. Can they run the football? And then on top of that, what does this passing attack look like? And I think we know the passing attack is going to be pretty dang solid if the pass protection is good. Who emerges as Colorado's go-to wide receiver? That's one of the storylines that I'll be looking at here.
And I think one key for this game, and this probably doesn't apply to their whole season necessarily, but if I had to guess, I think North Dakota State's just going to play an extremely soft coverage, let them kind of get their yards, and then in the red zone, they got to tighten it up because I just don't see any other way they can do it. Again, kind of what you've said. They don't athletically probably have what it takes to just straight up lock these wide receivers down. I think that Colorado has a litany of guys who can win in their respective matchups, but that's where I think it gets it. And you've seen Shedeur. He's never really had a problem doing that. He has been a patient quarterback. He doesn't force a whole lot of things, doesn't really turn the ball over. So that type of defense doesn't necessarily work against him particularly well, but it will be interesting to see what they can do in the red zone because at the end of the day, I think they're going to find themselves there a lot. And I think that's where North Dakota State's going to try to tighten up and do something and make
it. I think that's one of the bigger storylines is the addition of Will Sheppard. I think Will Sheppard's addition, I don't think Will Sheppard I don't even know if he'll be the third leading receiver on this team because I look at Travis Hunter, LeJontay Western probably leads this team in receiving yards. What does Will Sheppard do exceptionally well? He operates in the red zone. You know what I mean? This is a guy that I think in 2022 led the SEC in touchdown catches. And so you have some bodies, some big bodies that can operate in the red zone. I think another thing that Will Sheppard brings to Colorado is a little bit more of a vertical presence where you go back to last year, I mean, Jimmy Horman and Xavier Weaver, the two guys that passing attack primarily went through along with Travis Hunter, they were all kind of short, intermediate, route tree wide receivers, really twitchy, creating separation, excelling after the catch. Colorado, outside of the true freshman Amari Miller, didn't really have that, hey, we have a guy that can win on the boundary, test safeties and cornerbacks vertically down the field. I think Will Shepherd can also bring that kind of juice to this Colorado offense. So I'm kind of interested to see how they decide to use all the talent and different skill sets that they have in the wide receiver room. They'll get into the pick here, 9.5 points. Colorado favored at home. How are we feeling about it?
I honestly don't love Colorado to cover the 9.5, only because I can see a world where this is just a very small possession game where there's not that, like, because you know what North Dakota State's going to do. And frankly, I'm not sure Colorado is going to score particularly quickly either, just given that I think North Dakota State will kind of give them stuff underneath with that hopes of putting them in the red zone and trying to put the clamps on down there. Because if they're playing like kind of hair on fire a little bit defense, North Dakota State, they're going to give up a lot of explosive plays, and they just can't get into that sort of track meet. That's not what they're built to. So I think this game's going to have very few possessions, maybe something similar to what was going on in that Georgia Tech Florida State game where there just weren't a lot of possessions, and it's hard to cover kind of a bigger number. 9.5, I'm probably comfortable with Colorado getting to that 10, but I don't love it.
I really like Colorado here. You think of the matchups that I love. I think that Colorado's going to have much more success on offense than you give them credit for.
Like scoring quickly like that, though?
I don't know if it matters how quick. I think they're going to score a lot. And I think that your probably concern is, all right, what if North Dakota State just runs the football and keeps the football out of Shedeur Sanders' hands, which is certainly a question mark. That is the game flow that North Dakota State wants. Still, I think Colorado is so improved in the front seven. I think they're deeper. I think they're better. And if North Dakota State, which I don't think they can, challenge Colorado on the outside, you play a team like Oregon. If you want to sell out to stop the run, they have the legitimate difference makers on the outside. I just don't think North Dakota State has that. So I think Colorado, one, is better in the front seven. I think they're rolling safeties in the box. I don't think North Dakota State is going to have an answer for when Colorado does, in fact, do that. Give me Colorado to cover the 9.5. I don't think this is nearly enough. I trust Colorado to put up a lot of points, and I think this defense takes a massive step. Would love to hear what you guys are feeling in the comments section. One of the games that I feel actually most comfortable on the week one slate. So, Dill, we might have to break this one down. We will break this one down Thursday night. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let it fly in the comments section. We'll talk to y'all later.